tab at AUEagles.com. We're at 197 as we will have 197, the heavyweights, and then we'll have an ECM, an extra accountable match. So 3 matches to close things out as opposed to our normal 2. Volk Klos, the redshirt freshman, will take the mat right now for the Eagles. And Volk Klos, one of many guys who's kind of gone through there, it's Kuhn for Queens, and Volk Klos off to a quick start, gets a quick 3.
Yeah, Volk Klos, he's one of those guys that, really has a lot of confidence in him and has, thinks the more confidence that Liam gets in himself, he's going to be a real contributor to this team. Hoping his mindset changed a little bit after Air Force the other weekend. He was down by a lot and able to come back and win by, I think, a point to finish that match. But it's good to see him progress and improve throughout the season.
Yeah, Volk Klos with that win over Calvin Sund. One of 3 wins on the day for AU on Super Bowl Sunday. Ray Lopez with the tech fall. Gage Owen got a win there as well. And a few guys kind of going through that 197 spot. Volk Klos, as we've mentioned many a times, out of that wrestling hotbed of Pennsylvania, has seen some good competition through his years, that is for sure.
Yeah, he's one of those. I've rolled around with him in the room, as we talked about Goodman being like a really good technician from Queens. Volk Klos is that for American, real good technician, really good, really thinks a whole lot. And here he's, got heavy hips, looking to come back out on top. But he's one of those guys that hasn't fully transitioned out into the mat in matches. But in the room, he's real crisp, real technical, real methodical about perfecting his craft. And we're seeing it come out a little bit here, and hopefully, like I said, that confidence continues to build.
Kuhn, a guy that his head coach Paul Bradley says is tough, but didn't win a lot of D2 matches, but has actually improved and now is competitive in the D1 level. But he still kind of gets in some of that self-doubt sometimes, just kind of thinking back to his D2 roots and trying to get him over that hump a little bit of saying, hey, you're a D1 wrestler now. You got to believe that you can beat these guys all the time. Volk Klos with a 6-1 lead with 30 seconds just over left to go in our opening period.
30 seconds remains, 30.
Volk Klos got that arm on the back, looking to bring that right leg towards the head, see if he's going to either thread the needle there through that arm or look to find a cradle here. Not quite sure what he wants to do as he kind of abandons that. And looking for that left wrist of Kuhn.
Saw for a second there, Liam just kind of looked up, almost off into space. As you could tell, the wheels were turning in his head. Okay, where am I going to go from here? What are my moves? What are my chances? Is that a tough thing for one of the tougher things for younger wrestlers sometimes, is to kind of keep that thinking of wrestling to where it's going to take a couple things to maybe execute for some points?
Yeah, it definitely is. And as I was mentioning, Volk Klos is very cerebral. He thinks almost too much through his wrestling, and it can be a detriment, because if you're doing a whole bunch of thinking, you're not necessarily active. You're not wrestling. So there's a little bit of a disconnect in some of his wrestling when we've seen it where he's got it all going and he's just wrestling. He's not thinking. But there are times when you can see it out there. Oh, he's thinking. You can see the wheels turning.
Kuhn tried to run through it, and they'll end up out of the ring. It's funny, you think about in other sports where they always say, play fast. Well, if you play fast and make a mistake in football, maybe it's a touchdown, but you have a chance to get it back. In this sport, if you play fast, you mess up, it could be a pin on you.
Right, then there's no getting anything back.
So definitely a tight line there walking when you come out on the mat. It is a mano-a-mano competition, as they like to say.
1 minute remains.
Volk Klos right now winning that competition, up 7-1. Got 2:15 of riding time in his back pocket as well.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those opportunities where you see Kuhn in there on his own shot. I was going to say you want to see Volk Klos get to his attacks and continue to improve, but a little action here with the big guys. Now, Volk Klos with a hard whizzer, trying to put a lot of pressure on the shoulder of Kuhn.
Right now, obviously, Kuhn trying to win the match, but kind of looking at the team score, the way things are going, don't see him getting any type of decision where extra points would be involved. So he can do that, looking for a pin, but he has not had a lot of chances, it looks like, to get that going on Volk Klos. Though he has maybe turned the tide of the match a little bit, would you say, Jason?
Yeah, I would say he's definitely stopped Volk Klos, you know, with that momentum that he had in the first. Definitely changed a little bit. You can feel it. But, you know, again, Volk Klos still wrestling solid, you know, just not quite finding those openings that he found early in the first.
Final period. He'll choose the down position. American leading 7-1. Final period at 197.
So Volk Klos with the 7-1 lead, and here's the caution on Volk Klos. It's interesting talking to their head coach, Paul Bradley, this week. Did get quickly into his MMA career, and he did mention that he was known as the gentleman, which he said he didn't really like it at first, but he got to the point where he said, look, it's distinctive and people know who I am because of it, so I guess I've got to go along with it. So he kind of came around on it, but it is never one of those things. I think since maybe Gentleman Jim Bradley back in the 20s in boxing, you don't get gentleman a lot when you're talking about the mixed martial arts.
No, not quite. Especially when you yeah, no doubt. That's a little bit of a lost art, but hey, you know, that's some of those guys got to play it up. They got to sell out the arenas too, right?
Gentleman Jim Corbett, I believe the last gentleman we had, maybe before Coach Bradley. Right now, he's hoping for some non-gentlemanly behavior from his wrestler, Riley Kuhn. It's Liam Volk Klos riding hard on top. He's got the riding time point locked in now. So has a chance at a major decision, put some more points up.
1 minute remains.
Yeah, Kuhn doing a good job of, you know, almost getting out there, and now draws that stall call. As Liam, you know, dropped down to that leg. He put himself in that position. He's on top. He's in control. When you drop down to that leg, they start that 5 count.
Riding time assured for American.
Queen's bench trying to implore Kuhn to get one last blast in here, saying that Volk Klos might be a little bit tired.
Second caution on American for false start.
Of course, I think I would rebut with that is when you come back to win a match at Air Force, you probably have to have some pretty good lungs.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, being up in that altitude.
Yeah, and to go the full time and to win in a comeback fashion where you're having to push the pace.
Yeah, I mean, it's against a guy that has those lungs every day. Yeah, you know, sometimes that your gas tank is there even when is not there when you think it's there, and we're seeing him still wrestle tough, just not able to find the gaps. But he's here. He's looking to finish on top, extend his lead, and find that major decision.
So Volk Klos up by 8 with under 15 seconds to go. It looks like Volk Klos gonna ride him out. As there'll be a win for Liam Volk Klos, 11-2, a major decision, and Volk Klos good for him, Jason. Ended up starting to build some momentum after a good performance last week at Air Force. Another solid one here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is when you want to start building some momentum, right? Towards the end of the getting towards the postseason and finding a good win.